Welcome back, everyone. We are here on the show floor at AWS DC Summit, formerly the Public Sector Summit, as it all comes together. I'm John Furrier, your host, with Scott Hebner, research analyst at theCUBE Research. Valerie Henderson, president of Caylent, is here. CUBE alumni. Great to see you again.
Yeah,
You're
great
fabulous.
to see you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So welcome back. So this show is really all about how public sector and commercials come together, cloud going next level with Gen AI, massive tsunami of apps coming that are going to be agentic. The data layers, we were just at the Snowflake Summit. I'm flying out tonight to go to Databricks. A lot of action happening.
Yes.
So this is going to create a lot more value pretty quickly. You're in the middle of it.
Absolutely.
What's your take of this moment in time?
I had a mentor that on his wall had like the printing press and the telephone, and it truly is the next golden age. I really do believe that. People can't even comprehend what the next year, 2, 3 years are going to look like. It's going to be revolutionary. It's not a hype cycle. It isn't. And we're really seeing it. We're seeing healthcare organizations put it into production, not just POC.
Valerie, talk about your business. Where are you guys now? Give us some stats.
Yeah.
Give a quick overview.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So we're a premier AWS partner. We're actually all in with AWS. So we do have an opinion that AWS is the best hyperscaler to build on. I really do believe that. We've had incredible growth. It's been 10x over the last 3.5 years. A wild ride. We really have concentrated on being extremely strong in the level of our technical depth within AWS, generative AI, data, and application modernization, all being underpinned by, of course, migrations, because you know that is still a need in this space.
Yeah, and the tooling right now is, some of the coding
Oh my gosh.
has been phenomenal. So sales and marketing and coding are the two hot areas.
Yep.
We're seeing that boom. What is that doing for you and your clients in terms of their adoption from a lean-in standpoint, impact, POCs? Can you share?
Yes, absolutely. There was a period of time when everybody's boards just said, do something, and now we're actually seeing these experiments of POCs turn into real production workloads, integrated into people's product. We work with a lot of different ISVs, and we're not talking a chatbot, we're talking generative AI UI and engagement to really make you feel a different way when you're using these products, which is really special.
One of the things I've been seeing in the research I've been doing and talking to dozens of companies is the aspirations are there, a lot of activity going on, but there are some things that are, some headwinds. Blockers like the trust factor in terms of data privacy, right? And regulatory compliance, and especially when you get into agents, if you're going to have these things actually help you make decisions, you got to trust it, which means it needs to be explainable. But let's start on the data layer, right?
It's everything.
It's everything, right? Privacy regulations,
of course.
especially in healthcare, right?
Massive. We were actually talking about that about an hour ago. The thing that's special about AWS is within Bedrock in terms of their level of security and compliance, it literally covers all bases. They also have guardrails that really help make sure that you have clarity on hallucinations and what is and is not factual and real. But one of the biggest blockers in healthcare is what you said, security, and then a fear of the unknown or privacy or mistakes. And what I would tell people is work with a partner that has a lot of experience doing that. It does not have to be Caylent, but there are hundreds of thousands of partners out there that have a lot of experience, because that's the other gap, is not having the knowledge or understanding of how to use
the best practices.
Yes, because that's what it is. And you must have really strong evals in any software development. If you do not have strong evals and foundations, nothing sticks. So that is really important from the beginning.
Financial services, obviously, always an early adopter. Check, put them aside for a minute.
For sure.
Healthcare and life sciences are two hot areas. One, they need supercomputing capability, which now the cloud is becoming with all the great infrastructure performances. But between Bedrock and SageMaker, you now have an under the hood with SageMaker capability, and with Bedrock, you have optionality on models. Talk about the impact that means to you guys, because as you roll out and prototype and deploy to production, what does that do? Faster speeds? Can you share your thoughts on this? Because I think this is where the action is moving very quickly to.
Well, number one, to your point, Bedrock, you have all the optionality and flexibility. We talk about it, the carousel model. You might implement a model and that model is different within 2-3 months. So being able to leverage Bedrock and have those evals where you can upgrade those models real time is massive. But specifically in healthcare and life sciences, there is all of this imaging data. We work with a company called Vita, and they are specifically focused on vascular imaging to be able to help with diagnostics and drug testing. It is very difficult to take all of those images and actually de-identify them because of privacy concerns. And we've been able to leverage AWS technology like recognition and text track and Bedrock to actually build almost a co-pilot to increase the viability and the speed at which they get these results, which means you go from potentially years to months on getting these drug trials testing done. And I read recently it can be anywhere between $600,000 and $8 million a day when you're testing a drug and testing its viability. So every minute counts. So it's massive to see this type of change.
Healthcare and life science have one common thread. Robotics are a big part of it.
Yeah.
So robotics and AI are coming together.
Yeah.
We hear in all the keynotes, robots. We were showing some videos of robots doing some things, shooting guns. We think they'll be calling balls and strikes soon in the baseball game.
To a dishwashing robot, sign me up. I'm in. Ironing, vacuuming, I'm in.
It's coming quickly.
Yes, yeah.
I missed that boat. I wish that happened. I had my kids.
Yeah.
But robotics has a natural affinity towards machine learning and software-hardware relationship.
Yeah.
Healthcare, a lot of robotics, life sciences, robotics, multi-purpose AI is a huge thing with a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
Can you share your thoughts on that? Because we're seeing a lot of customers rethink their deployments with that in mind. It's not a bespoke IT project.
No, not at all. We actually were just on a panel and a gentleman was talking about he went into a lab and they actually this used to be a lab where it was all bench scientists, and it's now split in half with all robotic automation, and then half of the room is bench scientists. And he said, okay, what is this going to look like in 10 years? And he's like, there probably will be one bench scientist and the rest will be robotic automation. And I think just thinking about that at the top of the design is the biggest part. You have to be able to expand and think bigger. Otherwise, you are going to design things too close and not being able to take advantage of this.
And Bedrock fits in beautifully because you have an LLM plug into the robotics.
That's right.
And be purpose-built. So customers are going to want their own language models.
Absolutely.
And interface with the big ones. Distillation is a big factor.
To refine and make sure that it is as relevant for that specific use case as possible. Yeah. It's not about the model. And that's why I think Amazon was so smart with the way that they designed.
Right. Because I think LLMs are just a building block. There's going to be more specialized models, domain specific. You need semantic reasoning, you need causal reasoning. These things are all going to come together over time.
Yep.
I think that's the big difference between a generative AI and agentic, right?
Yes.
Decision making, you go from predictions to judgment.
Yep.
So I'm curious to what you're seeing, especially in healthcare, the notion of agents, digital labor, actual decision making, whether it's human in the loop or not, kind of changes the game again, doesn't it?
Yeah, somebody who said the best analogy is generative AI is a football coach on the sidelines, and agentic AI is a literal quarterback that has some level of automation involved, and I think that that's true.
Yeah.
If you think about the level of resistance that exists within healthcare right now of just generative AI, I want people to expand the thinking beyond just that, because what you can do behind the scenes with agents is incredible. And nurses, for instance, spend half of their week doing administrative tasks. Yeah. And if you think about repurposing that time to interfacing with patients, which is why they got into doing what they do, and having agents work in the background, connecting those workflows, that's going to change the face of healthcare. Think about how many people hate going to the doctor.
Right, yeah.
Because it's not always a good experience.
That sheet.
Well, and also, sometimes if they just take notes wrong, you don't get the referral.
Exactly.
Little things like that are like,
it's crazy.
Get caught up in like the human error.
Well, the biggest thing is you got to manage your own healthcare, because if you have several different kind of doctors involved, they never talk to each other.
That's right.
And so, agentic AI has the possibility to bring
that together.
Yeah, and we're just the innovation cycles are literally so rapid. It's like
it's
crazy. Can't fall behind now.
No, you can't.
Computer vision.
Oh yes.
Multimodal.
Yeah.
We talked about LLMs. Now you got computer vision, healthcare, imagery,
ambient AI, all of it. Yeah.
Take us through the workflow. A day in the life of what you guys do, because it's technical. You guys have deep domain expertise on AWS, going all in. You mentioned that. the customers have a change management problem. Culturally, how do they get up and running? Clinicians, the humans on their side, back office, you have those three areas. What's your thoughts on that?
We actually built a OCM change management business because of generative AI. Cloud needed it at some point now, but we're in a place now where people understand it. They might not have the expertise, but they get it. But generative AI needs so much help. Our theory is four kind of sided. Number one, you have to co-develop. Number two, you have to have tight feedback loops. Three, you need very clear earn trust milestones. When this happens, when this measurement gets to this point, we'll know it's working. And four, you need reinforcement. So how do you train? How do you incentivize? That's huge. People don't think about that.
Scott and I were talking about this.
Yeah.
Is that service business could be any vertical.
Yeah.
Research analysts, hours, media. The service leverage you get with operating with the cloud on those 4 points is critical. And you can almost take your last 4 points and make them boilerplate.
Totally.
If you do these things, it's a process. It's not a transactional deal.
That's right. Definitely.
How would you educate someone on that? Because not everyone sees that. Like, how would you simplify that value proposition?
Totally. Well, I typically will sit with somebody, and what we like to do is we like to meet with line of business, and I actually want to walk through the entire problem statement with them. What does that look and feel like? You have to prompt them. In the same way you're prompting generative AI, you have to be really thoughtful about the questions that you're asking, and ultimately you can lead them to where they are outlining those 4 specific points of what's needed within their organization.
I was going to say, they come up with it, right?
Yes.
Your gut,
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my question to you.
Okay.
As a leader, you said you made a few bets. I'm connecting the dots here. You bet on AWS.
Yep.
You saw the Gen AI wave.
Yeah.
How did you instruct your team to do things differently? And what did you guys intentionally do from a strategy standpoint that was turned into execution? More leverage with the tech, more end-to-end relationship with the customer, probing for problems, reinforcements, the 4 things you mentioned. What were the key things of your, because you guys are growing, so I think it's a good template.
Yes, I'm grateful, and I'm like, I never take that for granted. We're disciples of only the paranoid survive. You always need to be looking around corners. But I think the next wave is already what we've talked about, is agentic. But in our services space, it is how we are leveraging AI to deliver results for customers. And that's something that I think is not necessarily being caught everywhere, because it's really disrupting our own business. But how are we using AI and AI frameworks to deliver results faster? Because prior it was headcount, revenue, hours. Now it needs to be...
And what do you guys do? What specifically do you guys do?
So we actually have what we call our Accelerate framework. It is applied at whatever you want from a back-end infrastructure standpoint, but more commonly database right now. There are so many legacy databases that are just sitting there, and they hadn't been moved because the cost and the time. And we are shaving almost 70% off this time. So we can go back to customers and say, hey, you didn't want to touch this. Now you can, and it can be AWS native, and it can be more integrated into what you need at the data layer to take advantage of generative AI. So I think that that's a huge part of our strategy.
And that moves the needle.
Massive.
The engagement goes to the next level, and those 4 things you mentioned kick in, and then so your motion has changed
significantly
with the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. The demand is different, and I always say you have to be ahead of where the customer is going.
That unlocking the value of your data is so important. Some of the research we recently did today, only about, on average, about 40% of data is actually used.
It's crazy.
By a business. It's going to go down to like 6 or 7% over the next 3 years, unless we do something different.
Yep.
And I think what you just said is something different, right? You got to use AI. You don't necessarily have to move data, load it up in the Mac trucks, ship it up into the cloud. But there's new ways to get to all that data, to assimilate it, to ensure, we were talking before about the privacy and the compliance. And you got to start thinking about that today, because your data is your biggest asset.
It is. People have to be thinking about not being IT, it's IP, and how you're getting the value out of your data.
Yeah. So modernization, cloud native on AWS, value-oriented motion.
Big time.
You're now in position. What's next? What are the key things you're focused on?
I think we are going to see a need for deep level of domain expertise as it applies to agents. So for us, having this partnership with AWS within specific industries and verticals is so key. for instance, higher ed has a set of platforms that do not talk to each other, and they need to talk to each other. Can you build in agents and help build a wrapper around that for a higher education firm? You absolutely can.
Let me ask you, just an assimilation of all the conversations I've had, like dozens and dozens over the years. 3 keys here from what I've learned. One is you got to focus on nuanced markets or nuanced skills, because if it's about people making I'm talking about agentic, right? About making judgments better, making decisions, planning. Think about all the niches there are for very nuanced skills in the industry. I mean, it's uncountable.
It's infinite.
Right. 2 is target labor spend, which is the majority of the spend of most businesses, not just IT spend.
That's right.
Right. And then thirdly, rethink software bottoms up. It's not the SaaS model anymore.
No.
And those are 3 keys to being successful. And it sounds like you guys are actually another example of doing all 3 of those. Sure.
It is uncomfortable to disrupt your own business. And even being a firm of our size, you can feel sometimes resistance, but I'm really grateful that we've got a team that is young and excited to be tackling this.
Yeah, Valerie, we've been talking on theCUBE here and other events. This comes up a lot. It came up last week in Seattle. Some industries are ready, have better AI readiness, and they don't even know it, like healthcare and some other ones.
Yeah.
Because of compliance. They've been tagging data for other reasons, but now they're in a perfect position. Others haven't. Are there certain areas, verticals that are more prime right now for Gen AI? You mentioned healthcare. What other ones do you like that are hot?
Obviously,
which ones need to get their shit and stuff together?
Media, we work with quite a bit, and there's a lot of opportunity there. But I will tell you, manufacturing is an area that I think is, albeit not sexy, one that has a ton of unlock from a data standpoint. We worked with a company called Brainbox that was acquired by Tran that did HVAC-based intelligent generative AI. We work with a company called Simmons that's a plumbing manufacturing organization that builds generative AI copilot to tag waste issues with water. They're thinking they're going to save 5 billion gallons of water. And I think that looking at those areas where there are devices that are spinning out data that you can leverage and actually monetize and empower and or create some level of sustainability.
Another conversation I'd love to get your thoughts on. It's like you're like a co-host now on theCUBE. It's fun. It's just the expert. The value creation and value extraction always are the 2 sides of the coin. So they create value. We see that happening a lot. And for the reasons you mentioned, you get some smart people. They could be an individual, could be a group. They build a system as a systems thinking. The value extraction is where the customers are now kind of first generation, like, wow, I didn't know I could save 5 gallons. What's the value? How do I value that? How do I value the project?
Oh my God.
Not a TCO calculation on cost, because it's now revenue or other surprise impacts that are beautiful.
Yep.
What is that value extraction piece? What's your observation? Can you share any content around that?
Yeah, we were with a firm actually specifically that was going through this exercise of leveraging generative AI within HR. And they're like, how are we monetizing, thinking about the value we're getting out of this? And it did require hours and hours of sitting down with the end users and talking about like, okay, how long does that take you? How much are you being paid? How do you actually look at that value of those hours spent? And I think that requires a 3rd, 4th, 5th level of questioning and understanding of these unique businesses. And that's the part that I think is going to take time.
Where this is going to get really interesting is today it's a measurement about productivity.
That's right.
Because, generative AI is helping you do things more. But when you start getting to agents, this way down the road, it may help you make actual decisions. How do you put a value on a better decision? It's a better plan.
How do you think about that in a monetary fashion?
That's big.
Absolutely
How many wrong decisions does an organization make?
We all get decision fatigue.
Our theory on this, love to get your reaction on this, is that when people figure out the valuation techniques, SLAs are next.
That's absolutely, without question, 100%. I think that we talk about that a lot. Time, how quickly should it turn around? I also think the way that our services are being priced, does that look different? Is it outcome-based, token, whatever it might be? So I think all of that is ripe for change.
Valerie, great to have you on.
Thank you all.
Awesome content. What's exciting you these days? What's the coolest thing you're working on?
Oh, I would say the coolest thing I'm working on is with a company called Neogenomics, and it is actually a pathology organization working with oncology. My mom is a 6-time cancer survivor, and this is a firm that is actually looking at NGS, so the next gen sequencing, and helping match patterns faster. And when you're in a waiting room waiting on results for these tests, minutes matter.
Yeah.
And so being able to be a part of that's going to make that whole experience better and valuable.
Great. The care, the frequency, the acceleration.
All of it.
And by the way, you don't have to come back.
Totally.
Go home, come back. Wait a minute, where's my thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Valerie, thank you for ending the show for us here on theCUBE.
Good. Yes, all right.
That's our wrap up as well. Thank you for the commentary. And again, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you in New York in July.
Absolutely.
All right, for Scott Hebner, I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. We are wrapping up AWS DC Summit. Thanks for watching.